Presented by Curry's PC World.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the UKLC, brought to you by Curry's PC World. And we've got a jam-packed day for you today, and a jam-packed weekend, in fact, with 3 days of play. Don't be too confused. You haven't tuned to the wrong channel. Hitbrain is just taking a break for a couple of days, and it'll be me, Viprud, joining Jamada for these ones. And a massive welcome to everyone who is joining us on both the BBC app and on Twitch. Jamada, it's great to be here on the UKLC for my debut. We've got some amazing matches. And it's been a couple of weeks since we cast together, so how are you doing?
Yeah, we got the relegations together. Before that, honestly, even before that, it'd been a while, so I'm happy to be back with you, brother. How you doing?
It's good. It's good. I've obviously been working hard in other regions and in other leagues, but now I'm back, I'm home. UKLC is where it all started, but we've got some awesome matches. I know Hitbrain was fuming about missing a couple of them, and we sat down yesterday and we talked about the league, because I've tried to watch as much of it as possible and kind of absorb all the information and see how all the teams are playing. But you talked me through all of the nuances, and we're going to be able to look at some of the awesome plays that we saw last week. And a lot of these got me very, very excited to cast some of these games.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, last week, it was a bit of a step up in terms of tempo that we had from week 2, because I don't know, like you said, you hadn't been able to keep up too much, but week 2 was a slugfest, man. But moving into week 3, it was a lot more exciting. We saw a lot more action throughout the day. And the weekend, not just the one day, though one of the days was a little slow. But yeah, right here, Demise also picked up their first win of the split. Bless their little souls. It was a hard-fought win nonetheless. Envision did make them work for it, but very happy to at least see them get on the board, because they've been struggling. They've been struggling, and this game was probably the most enjoyable to watch on the Sunday, or the Monday, I beg your pardon. Honestly, just fights galore. Eminem, their games just seem to be the most exciting every single week in, week out. Love to fight, and it's probably the best League of Legends 2 cast, really. And they eventually took down Barrage. It took a little while, but they did get there. And well, I believe this is
Resolve Bulldog.
Yeah, this Resolve Bulldog, and I mean, honestly, Resolve, they're looking like they might just go on to do the full sweep of the regular split. If I'm totally honest with you, they do just seem like they are a league above the rest at the moment. I wouldn't be too surprised to see them go 14-0, but I don't think a team's gone 14-0 in the UKLC, maybe ever.
I don't think
as long as I've been around, certainly not.
Well, you've only been around for this one split, Jamala, so I mean, and this split isn't finished, so no one's gone 14-0 yet, because we've only played 6 games going into 7 this week. But it's a really exciting thing to see, because of course Resolve got promoted last season from the UKL, this scene that I am most involved with in the UK, and we've also had teams like Bulldog who came in through the re-promotion, as it were, so we got to watch that one and see how amazing they were doing. They've fallen off a little bit in the past couple of days, but I think we're in a very, very interesting spot in time for the UKLC this season, because this is the last set of games that we're going to see that the teams haven't played each other, right? This is the end of the first round robin. Tomorrow we're going to see the start of the second one, and it's the last chance for a lot of these teams to prove that they've got what it takes to be where they are in the table. You could, as you said, Resolve, they can prove that they can beat everyone in the league if they win today. You've got teams near the bottom that are playing against each other, teams near the top that are playing against each other. It's worked out really well that these last set of matches, they're all important.
Yeah, all of them will literally swing either team above or below their opponent today, with the exception of, unfortunately, the Demise Resolve game, which, you know, sometimes schedule just does you like that. I don't know what else to say.
Well, let's jump into the standings really quickly.
Actually,
how things fall going into this. Well, as you say, Resolve and Demise probably not going to catch Resolve just with this one game if they do pick up a win. But looking at this, a lot of teams very close together, and a lot of these teams are playing against each other today.
Yeah, I mean, you've got London Bulldog, that's the 3-3 team. That'll be game 2 of the day. You've got Barrage Enclave, which is of course our opener. Eminem will be taking on Envision, so everyone is practically within one game of each other, give or take a game. So honestly, a lot of these games do have a fair amount of meaning. By the end of the day, we could see quite a few teams, slip one position down, one position up. Very exciting stuff all around. And like I say, I don't think we're going to get a boring game, with the exception of potentially this Resolve Demise game, unless Demise really do sort of surprise what are now the new sort of expectations of Demise. However, of course, they're coming off a win, so we could see them with a little bit of vitality to their gameplay, but into Resolve again. For a lot of these teams, it is a tough ask to try and push them to the edge.
Everyone's been paying the Resolve tax, and we'll have to see if Demise do the same. But let's see which games we're going to be looking at this evening as we move on to our schedule. And there's a lot of games that are really, really exciting here. Of course, we talked about the Resolve Demise one. That could be quite interesting. But the final game of the day really catches my eye, Eminem versus Envision. You've talked a lot about how much you like Eminem's style of play. Yeah,
now, not even biased anymore. Like, Eminem have, to me, played the most exciting League of Legends. It's not necessarily been the best or the cleanest League of Legends. They just like to scrap. They love to fight. They will skirmish you over just about anything, it seems like. And sometimes, I mean, I'm starting to kind of refer to them as like a baby LPL team, where they will quite literally just fight you over a ward or something really ridiculous like that. I mean, they're just kind of going game by game, team by team, and attempting to mechanics check everybody in these small team fights and skirmishes, and it's working out for them. So it's very excited to see.
And the first couple of games we got today are also going to be really, really exciting for different reasons. London coming up against Bulldog. It's two teams that are kind of alumnus from a lower league that have come back up. London did so a couple of seasons ago. Bulldog technically did it last season, but they didn't play anything in the lower league because they managed to get themselves re-promoted immediately. And the first match of the day, Barrage versus Enclave, two very storied UK rosters, two very storied UK teams coming in and trying to prove that they are better than their standing and their current position suggests. So, as we say, all of these matches are going to be very, very exciting. Demise, of course, maybe an exception, but has the potential to be the best game of the day if things go one way rather than another. But it's so difficult to call any of these matches, really, because the teams are so close. Everyone's can kind of beat everyone. There's a lot of talent on all of these rosters. So when we were talking through it, I was just consistently impressed while watching and talking to you about how many of these players, some of whom are completely new and I haven't seen before, and some of whom I've seen in the past but haven't really done it for me in the past couple of years, how well they've all done.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's kind of the a byproduct as well of some of the system now in place with the UKL below the UKLC too, where we do see some talent move in and up, right? Like we have Casper now on the Bulldog roster, as probably my best example, or KZ too, who KZ's been floating around in multiple different leagues for a while, never quite been able to break into the UKLC. He's finally done it this split. And Mouse Barrage themselves aren't necessarily doing too hot in the standings. He's, by the numbers, been doing really, really well for himself. Highest damage share on his team, highest damage per minute amongst AD carries, I believe, or he might be second place in those standings. So, you know, it's nice to see some of those sort of fresher names that you might be familiar with if you're sort of around, but you might not be necessarily familiar with if you only follow the UKLC.
Well, let's have a quick look at our predictions before we start hyping up this first match of the day. And we've gone for very similar directions. You gave yours first, and I had to find a way of being a bit different from you. So I looked towards that last game, and yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. Maybe bias from myself, seeing how well Envision did in the NLC Fall Open. And again, liking a lot of players on that roster. But let's really hone in on this first match between Enclave and Barrage really quickly. So these two teams haven't looked the most consistently amazing this split. They haven't been, they're not fighting at the top end of the table just yet, but they're still over half the splits go with today's games. And as you said, with KZ coming through, looking really, really good, there are players on both of these teams that are performing well already in the season, and some players who we want to see a little bit more from.
Yeah, and I think you can really, you know, you can highlight players on those two fronts across both rosters, really. And we will get into it a little deeper once we do get to that first game. But yeah, you know, you can highlight Aragon in the top side. You can highlight Cleanser, honestly, after last week. Even though, you know, collectively as a team, I think one of the main criticisms for Enclave at the moment for me is they're a little bit too inactive, even when they have a lot of proactive tools. That, of course, you know, it can vary a little bit depending on the draft, but, you know, sort of generally speaking, even when they do have really basic tools, very sort of, you know, shotgun type compositions where just press the trigger and just go, right? They don't. So we'll have to see what these two teams come out with, because I think we do have potential for an exciting match, but it kind of depends on what iteration of both of these teams we actually have coming out today.
Well, we're going to have to see which of these two teams can come through with their first win of the night and their first win of this 3-day weekend. But we're going to jump to a short break. When we come back, we'll be getting into Champ Select between Barrage and Enclave. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a couple of minutes. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the UKLC. And we're about to jump into our first game of the night between Barrage and Enclave. But before we do, let's acquaint ourselves with the two teams that are coming up with the two rosters. And Jamada, of course, I'm new here, but a lot of these names are pretty recognizable.
Yeah, you definitely recognize a lot of these names. Only Angel's been around for honestly for an eternity. It feels like now. One of the sort of the old guard, particularly of the top laners specifically. And then sort of across the board, you know, we highlighted KZ briefly. KDO is somebody who you'd probably be familiar with if you know a little bit about the UK League of Legends scene. And of course, you know, you have the likes of Aragon, who's a little fresher, but not, you know, as long-standing as somebody like Only Angel. And new face like Thomas Go, who's sort of only been in the UK scene for about a year or so. So plenty of faces on both sides, particularly also Sykes. One of the few, well, there's actually quite a few resident mids this split, which is nice to see. So Sykes as well, I think, also had a stint in the UKL before returning back to the UKLC. So
I believe so. Absolutely. And Thomas Go as well made his debut in the UK scene over on Absolved before they made their move to Denmark in the UKEL. So a lot of really exciting talent on both of these rosters. I remember screaming about a massive Thomas Go quadra kill on Aurelia mid, but probably don't expect to see that one this evening. But we talked about a lot of these like known names, right? The players that we've seen before, we know kind of what to expect, but have maybe shown up a little bit more. People like Aragon. But the jungle matchup is where I really want to hone down here, because from what I've seen and from what you've told me, this King guy seems to be doing the business.
Now, I've like a fool, I've dropped the numbers somewhere and I can't find them.
Oh no!
But I was very, very impressed with King's. King actually holds, I believe, the highest damage per minute out of any jungler in the league, which for junglers is kind of insane. I think he also has the second highest damage share amongst Barrage, but he also has the highest damage share against every other jungler in the league. I think it's something close to the region of about 25 to 26%, which for junglers, albeit we're in a farming meta with a lot of damage-oriented junglers, but still nonetheless, for a jungler, those numbers are pretty insane. So King has kind of silently been doing a lot of work for Barrage, and I feel like that's why I wanted to highlight this matchup, especially after last week when we saw Cleanser on the Udyr, maybe it was 2 weeks ago. Honestly, it's like
all
blend a little bit.
one of this point.
But Cleanser, honestly, I feel like does have the potential to sort of be the driving force for this Enclave roster. But we just need to see Enclave more cohesively make decisions together and actually move forward as a unit when they do have some of these proactivity tools, which they consistently draft for themselves, but aren't always using, you know, too well.
And this is what has really interested me about the UKLC, this split, because we talk about people like King getting really good damage numbers for a jungler. You look at KZ doing exceptionally well in this bot lane. This team is 2-4. This team has not got a positive win rate there, sitting in and around what it is the relegation zone from this league. And when you've got players of such talent across the roster, you start asking questions. Yeah. Why has this not worked? Why are they struggling so much? And you can say the same for Enclave as well. You look at the players that they've got across the board. Yes, maybe they haven't showed up as much, so maybe they're still needing to grow into their position, grow in as a roster to this league. But both of these teams are probably, it'd be easy to say that they're too good to be not doing this well for too long. But we are now into Champ Select, and one of them's going to pick up a win here. But is there anything I should keep my eyes looking out for in this Champ Select?
I don't think there's anything too special in particular. I would actually be curious to see whether Enclave pays some respects to King and his jungle pool in particular, and also even maybe KZ's Kai'Sa could be another target. But I think we're gonna probably stay on relatively normal terms in the bans. I don't think we're gonna see anything too crazy come out, like we're seeing the Pantheon, like we're seeing the Seraphine. These are all very quite normal bans. Cleanser not having his Udyr, I think since that Udyr game, he's had it banned in every single game against him. So he's getting the Bulldog Hachi treatment, who, Vibrant, if you didn't catch week 1 of the UKLC, Bulldog's top laner went on a bit of a tear. He solo killed Rifty 2 times.
Nice, good.
And then he got Aatrox the next day. And he basically did the same thing to the next top laner, and he's not had Aatrox pretty much since. We are going to see Barrage get their hands on the Kai'Sa, which I think, honestly, for how Barrage seem to be wanting to play, it's not too big of a surprise. It's a very big comfort for KZ, and I wouldn't be too surprised to then now see this be rounded out with an Aatrox in this next selection for them, especially with the Gragas being locked in.
Could be an option for them. Gragas is a champion that I love seeing because he gives so much CC. He's very, very versatile, can be flexed top, jungle, support, mid if you're feeling very, very interested in yourself. But the Senna has been locked in, and again, we're seeing this coming up more and more as that bot lane pick up. So what do you make of this pick?
Yeah, I mean, Senna's been rising a lot in priority because of the sort of under the hood number changes she got in the previous patch, or I think we're still on 11.2. I beg your pardon. So, honestly, the Kraken Slayer into Gwintu's build is what sort of risen this champion into priority, and she just deals so much damage. It's not like the Senna of old where you would pop off an auto attack and a Q and you would chunk out carries for about half their HP. It's now a little bit more about this consistent damage as opposed to that burst. And actually, we're seeing Rel be locked in kind of blind, and I'm kind of excited to see this because I think Rel is a champion that has finally now been started to be understood by a lot of players in some of the versatility it holds and a lot of the value it holds in its engages. And we're going to see King on his Graves, so hopefully going to be dishing out the damage as Enclave looking to round out their first rotation of picks here. I mean, I would expect them to go down the jungle route. There's quite a few still up, so we'll have to see. But no, they actually opt for the Alistar, so they want to sort of keep the support matchup kind of close, not wanting to have the pool pinched away.
Well, if you're looking for those heavy engaged kind of bot laners, you look at your Leonas, you look at your Nautiluses, don't have the best matchup into Rel. So going for something like the Alistar is going to be nice for them. And of course, that Gragas could be finding his way into the jungle if that is what Enclave decide to do with him. But we're moving into our second round of bans here. Top laners and mid laners all round. It's got to be imagined. Gangplank, first one off the table.
Yeah, GP strikes me as a bit curious. Now, as an objective banner, I think it's totally fine. But Aragon's not really shown, well, he's not shown GP at all. Maybe it's something that he's been practicing in recency. So it's just information that Enclave have at their hands where they don't want the GP being locked in with this team composition that Barrage are running. But I would have more expected the Aatrox ban. It's something that Aragon's lent on more, even Renekton and Aatrox, as these are two bruiser champions that Aragon has shown a very strong liking to, and he's performed very well on both of those champions. So we'll have to see what the next ban is. It's going to be the Lucian, and Lucian, I guess, sure, but again, you look at the Barrage draft, and it's they're not in need of Lucian. They need a little more magic damage right now, and they're gonna have a top laner, and I don't expect Aragon to be practicing the Lucian either. So, you know, definitely a little curious on those second rotation bans from Enclave. On the Barrage side, though, I think a lot of teams have been paying this respect Rumble ban over to Enclave, and it's going to be Barrage banning away the Aatrox, which definitely strikes me as a bit curious.
I mean, is it the case of seeing that the Aatrox was conspicuously absent from the bans and thinking, right, this is probably what Enclave want to pick up? But then they've given over the Renekton, and a lot of good options into that pick have been taken off the table already, so maybe a curious one.
Yeah, I mean, now the bans make a little more sense in terms of the GP and the Lucian, if you're looking at this Renekton. And it also spells to me that they're going to throw the Gragas into the jungle, which is something we don't actually typically see too often. We've seen it once out of PFI, but that's a comfort pick for him. So we're going to have to see how Cleanser actually does on this champion. It's a lot slower paced than plenty of the meta champion picks at the moment. And Barrage, they're rounding out their draft pretty well so far with the Ornn. Going to give them a lot of, you know, sort of frontal engage where it's not going to have to be too committal, but you have the follow-up of the Kai'Sa, you have some follow-up from the Rel, and they're going to round it out with Thomas Go's Victor, which he's lent on quite a bit so far in this split, which honestly, I'm not too sad to see him on. He has pretty good performances on this champion.
But you're looking for high AP damage in that mid lane. Victor's definitely a great option for that. Going to be matched with the Azir coming through into the mid side for Sykes. And yeah, this does confirm that we're probably having this Gragas in the jungle, which I like it. It can get around the map very, very easily. It can cause those ganks very, very nicely. A lot of disengage from it, but not the necessarily most usual pick, especially when you look at the fact that Hecarim and Lilia both made it through. Actually, Olaf was banned away behind my microphone there, but Lilia and Hecarim were both fadeable, both got taken off the tape, didn't get picked, didn't get banned. So yeah, and confidence here.
Yeah, it's just a little bit, I won't say strange, it's obviously what Enclave want to ban. It's just unconventional to the current meta, that's all. Especially like you say with the Lilia up. Lilia has a pretty fine time into Graves. I guess maybe the only issue is you're starting to worry about dipping too much into the magic damage profile, but I mean, honestly, with Barrage, I think this is a very standard composition. It's pretty apparent what these guys want to do. They want a team fight. They want to bring you into them so that they can deal their damage and then re-engage and turn it into sort of dives with the Kai'Sa and with the Rel. And then on the other side, for Enclave, they're a little bit more all over the place in terms of theme. You know, you've got the Renekton who, you know, can team fight, but he wants to sort of get these nice flank angles. If he's doing it, he can't approach the fights, you know, straight through the likes of an Ornn, the Graves, the Victor, and all of the CC that comes out of the Rel. And then obviously Azir Senna, they're fine doing front to back, and they've got decent enough front line from the Alistar, but will the Gragas be going full AP? Will we see a tank variant? It's sort of yet to be seen. So I think both these teams do have tools. I am a little bit concerned for Enclave in the sense of they've got non-committal engage from the Gragas, they've got committal engage from the Alistar, but this is what we've been talking about in terms of they've been a little bit, they've not been proactive enough for me, especially when they have these kind of tools. So I want to actually see them use these tools, whether it's, diving in on the Victor in the laning phase, whether it's sort of turning mid lane priority, which they should have with the Azir, into, 3-man, 4-man dives on the bottom side. I need to see Enclave be proactive with this composition. Even if they do scale really well, I just need to see that they are capable of playing proactive League of Legends.
Well, I will ask you this then. So if you want to see the proactive play, and they have these proactive tools, as you said, they've also got a lot of tools for disengaging and holding off and kind of setting themselves up in a location like your Dragons, like your Barons, and just kind of saying, you don't get to engage with us. We've got Gragas Barrel. We've got Gragas existing with the rest of his kit. We've got a Azir Wall. Like, we have these tools that can be used for us to either hold you off or for us to escape. Does this kind of build into the fact that, okay, Enclave aren't the best proactive team, let's give ourselves the ability to play reactively, play defensively, in order to scale, as you said, into our late game, which is very, very nice?
Yeah, no, I think it's a very valid point too. Yeah, whilst I am harping on about the inactivity of Enclave, this draft does actually play to what you can either argue as a weakness or a strength, depending on the draft now. All right, as long as we have the setup, we don't have to really be too active. We can just sit back and wait for you guys to come into our switch. Barrage, their engage in this game isn't necessarily too great outside of the on. So, pros and cons for both of these team compositions into one another. I think one thing to look out for, particularly around these neutral objectives, is who makes it into the river first, who has river control, who's got control of a lot of these entrances to the Dragon Pit and the Baron Pit, because walking into chokes versus both of these teams is, well, it's very scary when you've got the Azir soldiers, you've got the Victor combo, Graves, Ornn. There's a lot of tools on both of these teams, so looking at these lanes and who gets priority around these neutrals and can control the river.
We're going to find out as we jump into our first game of the evening. Barrage Academy on the blue side, with Enclave Gaming over on the red. And Jamala, quick predictions. You've seen the drafts. Anything that's making you believe that your initial prediction of Barrage won't come through?
Not in particular. I think the only thing for me with Barrage is that they're not actually running Aragon on a bruiser for this game. But given the bans, I think it makes a lot of sense. And the on pick still works pretty well on theme with them. I think Enclave, however, do have a slightly, I don't want to say better draft than previous weeks, but considering how they've sort of played with this inactivity, sort of in a lot of their earlier games plaguing them, they have a composition that actually benefits that inactivity a fair bit. So we'll have to see. I'm not going to change my prediction. I think Barrage is a little bit favored, but Enclave at least have given themselves better tools to their playstyle, because honestly, they had been drafting champions that wanted to be aggressive in previous weeks. So this time around, a little less. So I think it could definitely benefit them a little more in this game.
Potentially, or it could just be a case of them now going full aggro with this more defensive style, which, we've seen stranger things happen in the UK with League of Legends, but junglers starting on opposite sides of the map, so probably not going to be clashing at those scuttles, which is both good and bad. It means they get a little bit more time and a little bit more gold without having to fight each other. And more importantly, for all of us who want to see lots of kills and lots of action, does also mean that the early ganks could be a little bit more forthcoming. But are there any lanes that you're looking at and thinking, wow, this is exactly where the early game action is going to take place?
I mean, the only lane where it really can take place is kind of the bottom side of the map. Aragon on this Ornn into Only Angels Renekton, I don't expect there to be too much action unless there's a few missteps, which we have seen Angel kind of be a little over-aggressive in some cases, and on the flip side, also kind of just not pay a lot of respect to his opponents in previous weeks. But let's see, like silly things like that, taking a tower shot in that kind of exemplifies what I'm talking about there, as both the junglers looking like they're eyeing up their respective strong sides. Scuttle Crab, we do have a Nice rotation over by KDO here. Just using the time bought from this cheater recall from the Barrage Academy bottom side. KZ gonna have a call in his inventory, so he's gonna be pretty happy with that one. And like we say, both junglers just taking their strong side. Scuttle Crabs, nothing to really see here. Cleanser gonna be slightly faster in terms of tempo, but it's not gonna be too much unless he makes this mid lane gank work, which honestly, Thomas Go's probably gonna have the flash.
Very extended. There's the flash. He is able to walk away, but now when you're someone like Victor, not having the flash means that the return gank is going to be so much easier, and it's going to mean that the mid laner from Barrage has to be so much more careful. Sykes maybe getting a little over aggressive with King being there, and a laser follows them both out of the lane, but maybe worrying times for Barrage in the early stages.
Potentially. I mean, like you say, Victor is very, very vulnerable to early ganks, particularly into the likes of an Azir where, you know, the setup's not exactly hard, right? You just Shurima shuffle right in, press that R key back into the waiting hands of the Gragas, and he will drop. King trying to pick up the second rotation Gromp, which, given Cleanser's pathing, he's actually going to be able to do it. It's going to be pretty close. If he body slams over the wall, it might be a bit awkward, but Cleanser's got other ideas. I'm not entirely sure where Cleanser's off to, as now he's going to find the remains of his Gromp camp. As bottom side, they're looking for an engage.
Going for an engage. KDO has dived in. Impulse goes pretty low, but has to back away. Can get a couple of parting shots, and now Cleanser is their popped Predator, but isn't able to get too much of a re-engage going down. But again, right place, right time. Nothing really burnt from either of these teams. Actually, you know, KDO burning the Ignite and Flash means that was actually not the optimal play, really, for Barrage.
Yeah, no, and it was Barrage being the... Oh, hello.
Go for another one, though, trying to grab him with the Hex Flash. Could get a lot of damage down. And
oh, KDO's on the tower.
Are in retreat. KDO goes down for first blood with the Ignite rolling on him from Sorax, who will be able to assist his marksman in getting that kill. But again, over-aggressive play from Barrage, and this time it costs them a kill.
Yeah, I mean, it's just very nice heads-up play from Sorax to be able to make that happen. Headbutting KDO underneath the tower. We're going to get a nice replay of it. And I mean, I think it's fine. You've still got King waiting in the area, right? But KDO just sort of overzealous, standing behind Sorax like this couldn't be a potential outcome. Got rooted up underneath the tower and then knocked up. And this is what I was talking about, the return gank.
Cho'Gank's coming through. Thomas Go making his way down bot. Alistair is there, though, so might be able to catch him out. Now he's running into his own jungle, but so many members of Enclave are chasing on. KDO is there, looking for the stun, looking for the knock-up. Will land it. Now the fight could actually be turned with so much CC coming out from Rel. Cleanser goes low as KDO and King now both turn up to the fight. King picking up the first kill of the skirmish. Sorax running towards mid lane, but he's nearsighted. He's slowed, he's damaged, and he's going to go down. Graves picks up a double, and that's the kind of play Barrage wanted to make, and it was Enclave who started it.
Yeah, and who better realistically for Barrage other than KZ to get these two kills? King, we spoke about, he loves to get down so much damage in so many of his games, has the second highest damage share of this team, and getting those two kills is only going to exacerbate that problem. Now we can see Enclave, they're the aggressors in this play. They're trying to make the return gank happen. Sorax even makes the rotation over from base, I believe, but we have a nice opening from KDO. Right place, right time, and King also actually opened back out onto the bottom side of the map, so he's here to prevent this play from going down, and it's just a very nice chase down from Barrage. And I mean, Cleanser, it's third time's the charm.
Again, and it will be the charm with the kill coming through, the bop, the damage. Cleanser picks up the kill, and you'll also notice, the more astute amongst you, that the dragon was picked up during that last replay. So the Infernal Dragon has been secured by a Barrage Academy, giving them just a little bit more damage.
Yeah, now, because we came out of the replay straight into the play, this is what I was about to say. Realistically, it would have just been better for Enclave to have just waited maybe 30, 45 seconds to actually pick up this level 6 on Sykes. And the gank onto this Victor with no flash is much easier. You can see that's it. That's all there actually is in terms of the actual execution on this immobile mid laner. And I mean, we're going to see Barrage actually rotate up full bot lane to this Herald, which is something we don't often see, though I feel like it's actually been sort of returning from a lot of teams where they'll rotate their full bottom side up for these Heralds. I'm personally not so much a fan of these full rotations anymore. I think leaving your AD carry on the bottom side to get a lot of solo XP, and then just moving the support up on good wave times is a little better, and we do see a fair few teams do it, like for example what Enclave are doing right now. So they crash the wave at sort of this 750 mark, and even if they're second per se to the play, let's say Barrage actually kept their bottom side here to catch this wave, they're going to have numbers advantage on the top side, right? Sorax would be making his way to the top side first, in this case now, they're actually having Impulse rotate over. And I mean, even Aragon's committing his TP to try and secure this one. I don't think Enclave are going to get their hands on it, but we could see a fight nonetheless.
Potentially, but Tomasko is there. It's all 5 members, and you can see Impulse has just managed to make it to that top side, and he's going to have to recall immediately. Wow. The lane swap really going in Barrage Academy's favor this time around. You can see both members want to be leaving with KZ and KDO up on the top side. Rift Herald was secured by King, which means that he's going to have it in pocket, so keep your eyes on the Graves to see where they're going to try and cash that check. But yeah, it looks like Enclave just kind of chasing the play, and that time it really didn't work out.
Yeah, so just a little bit slow, realistically. But I think if they keep Impulse bottom, it's honestly fine. If Impulse is still on the bottom side, he gets to soak up all of the waves for free. He gets to take down maybe 2 plates. And the immediate gold trade is Enclave favored, but they opt to go for the full reset. They have Sorex actually move up from the wave and not reset, but too slow to the play, just simply because Barrage rotated the wave early, or 2 waves early. So they are going to lose out on the Herald. They're not even going to trade out plays. So Barrage, they've got this trading tool in their pocket. They've got about 300 standing gold, waiting to be eaten up by King and a very fortunate laner from Barrage, or maybe 2 laners. You never know.
Depends where he's going to put it at the end. But this is very, very interesting, because we always look at Rift Herald as kind of this investment, right? So you have to usually make a trade-off for it, either losing some plates or losing some experience to get this Herald, which you're then going to try and get as much gold out of as possible somewhere else on the map, especially pre-14 minutes. But with Enclave not playing the macro around it properly, it means that they didn't really charge Barrage Academy anything for it. It was basically for free, which means that, yes, there's now a nice lane state for them in the bot side, but any gold they get from this play is going to be not against anything, right? So yeah. It's a very long-winded way of saying Enclave should have rotated a little bit faster or should have made them pay elsewhere. But now Barrage Academy are going to be super, super happy, especially since both of these teams so far this game have looked a little bit shaky.
Yeah, and, you know, I'm not going to turn this into a sort of a mini coaching session around Herald. But yeah, there are plenty of ways that you can, you know, take Heralds and not really give up too much. And Barrage, honestly, were in that position off of a relatively unorthodox full bottom side rotation these days. But Enclave definitely could have punished had they recognized the position they were in. And like you say, Herald, it can be an investment. In this kind of situation, it's pretty much just to pick up for free. There is no real investment, and Enclave, you could even argue, sort of fall a tad behind, though the waves weren't really in a horrible position for them, right? They crashed the bottom side wave, so Impulse didn't really miss much by rotating up to just initially just rotate back down.
But, kind of broken out into this kind of period where members of Barrage Academy are going to be rotating around the map. You can see KDO, Aragon, Tomasko, and King all hanging out in the mid lane with this Rift Herald. They do want to be able to get as much gold value out of it as possible. And the ability for Rel to move around the map when she's mounted so quickly to help out with these plays, alongside someone like the Ornn, who has so much CC available and can do so much for the team, it really favors them around these kind of early to mid-game objectives, like the second dragon.
Yeah, and the second dragon they're going to pick up pretty much for free, as there's no real contest for Enclave. The reset timings are a little rough. They're actually counter jungling in the top side, so just going to be trading off what is most likely going to be 2 jungle camps and a lot of the wave, as
looking for the engage, catching onto Alistair. He's going to go unbreakable and look for the re-engage. Impulse is there, damage coming through. Only Angel has teleported in, and the Crocodile is mad. Going to get the stun down, going to get the damage down. KDO running in full retreat. The ultimate will not land onto him from Impulse, though, so the damage isn't there, but Only Angel is going to be able to chase through, jumping off, but now you're so slow, KDO, with Azir coming through as well. That's going to be the kill. KZ does manage to get on the tower, but I don't know if King will be able to do so. Has burnt flash from the shuffle, brings Kai'Sa back into the fray. She's able to ult out, but no such luck for King, as he will go down. Aragon is there just to make sure that there's no dive on the cards, but a nice play there from Enclave.
Yeah, and I would love to know how Tomasko wasn't actually able to rotate down to this play with the teleport as well. Literally didn't really seem like he had the opportunity, as Cleanser getting a little bit bullied in the mid lane, as gonna get a replay of how this whole thing goes down, and it's just King and KDO checking into this tri-bush, trying to make sure KZ has full coverage, and it's a re-engage from Sorex that they stick around too long after Angel's TP actually starts channeling through, and it's just a very long chase down. The ultimate from Impulse does actually end up whiffing, but it, in a way, actually works out for Enclave because it means they chase further down. Barrage is still actually on the retreat, and it means that Enclave commit harder to this play. You feel like if they'd picked up KDO in the river, they might not have chased so far. And because of that, King actually ends up dropping as a very nice Emperor's Divide from Sykes to keep King in that fight. And all in all, 2-0 for Enclave. Kill trade picked up. I'm not actually sure. I believe the Herald got dropped on the bottom side. I actually think amongst all of that mayhem, that's potentially why King and KZ stuck around on that bottom side and they were able to be picked up, or at least King was able to be picked up in that skirmish. So definitely some interesting decision making going on there.
You know, it's the investment at the end of the day, right? Enclave were like, we're not going to make you pay for it immediately, but when you drop it, we are going to kill a couple of you, which, you know, not the best deal in the world for either of these teams, but not awful. Of course, Rift Herald will be back, so we get another lesson in GCSE economics in a couple of minutes' time. But both of these teams, you can see now KDO and KZ are back on the top side. Only Angel looking for an engage. Sorex and Impulse have roamed up as well. In fact, Rift Herald back on the map, which is why everyone is hanging around in the topside river. But this time, Enclave have left Sykes down bot alongside the Ornn. Aragon hanging around, teleport available. But no one's really willing to risk too much to grab the second Rift Herald when it's really not as valuable as the first.
Yeah, you know, the first Herald is normally worth that sort of baseline 300 gold or 320 gold on those first two plates, and a little more if you've got a tower somewhere to sort of drop a little more HP on that, as honestly, Enclave, I don't think they're going to be contested on this Herald. As you can see, the gold graph, pretty much Enclave favored throughout most of this game. A few dips here and there, but nothing too serious, and Enclave pretty happy, I suppose, of this early game, though I believe this third dragon fight is going to be very telling on the tone of the rest of this game. Barrage slowed down a little bit by that bottom side play, but I think if we take a look at inventory, you see the items starting to come through. Aragon actually with the Hextech Chem, I always forget what the item is, but it's the run fast tank item.
Chem tank.
Chem tank, yes, thank you.
That's what you're looking for. But that's a very, very interesting pickup for the Ornn to grab. Does this show that Ornn wants to be getting around the map, getting into these team fights, roaming around a little bit more than just being a big dumb tank in the middle of a fight?
I mean, actually, if we're on the change tank items patch, which we... it's really bad of me, I can't remember what patch you're on. Then this is actually okay. It's more or less because they swapped around the mythics. Actually, Observer, if we could just hover over that item, then I think it would just give me my answer, if that's possible.
There it is.
Yeah, so yeah, we're on the newer patch. So you can see Turbo Chem Tank actually now gives ability haste, as opposed to its old passive, which I want to say was slow resistant tenacity. And in general, I know they fiddled with a lot of the numbers on all of the tank items, I think. All of the tank mythics, that is. So Aragon, more or less just sort of preferring the ability haste, I beg your pardon. Which, on Ornn, pretty valuable stat.
Does make sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely, able to throw out those abilities, get a little bit more damage down, give himself a little bit more survivability in the fight as well with that tenacity on W, and of course the Horn. You love the Horn. Blows it, starts a fight, makes it very easy for me to know when I should start talking, so always appreciate a good Ornn player. Dragon has dropped down onto the map. It's the Ocean Soul this time around, giving that regen, which is always very, very nice for teams that are looking to fight around objectives and for teams that are looking to siege out. But Dragon isn't going to be given up without a fight this time around as the charge comes through mid on the Rift Herald. Very, very nice from Enclave to create some instant pressure in that mid lane. And Sorex looking for a flank. Members of Barrage do need to be a little bit careful, but they've still got priority on the Dragon just about. It's still proccing towards them. Only Angel has popped that Dominus, looking for the engage. The damage comes through, the Dragon goes down, and here is the fight. Only Angel up. So much CC coming through as members of Enclave need to be getting out sharpish. They do look to return the fight, though, as they are the ones who have actually taken down. Cleanser goes over the wall, looking for KZ, but KZ will be able to get out of that one. Sorex might not be so lucky, but he will go down on both sides of the fight. Enclave are going to be losing members. They're going to be killing members, and they're going to be taking the win there.
Yeah, honestly, it was just a battle of the frontline CC. It was a beautiful combo from KDO, honestly, but the follow-up damage just wasn't quite there. They couldn't execute any of these beefy frontliners in Only Angel and really Cleanser, but you can just see KDO just manages to find a nice engage off the back of a knock-up from Aragon, and none of these members are able to actually be taken down. Sorex with the Unbreakable is too tanky See the Emperor's Divide knocks back Thomas Go into the waiting arms of Enclave. Cleanser takes down KZ on the front side. And that fight could have gone either way, but I think critically the important thing is that Barrage pick up that third dragon, so they're one more away from Soul. Does put a little more pressure on Enclave to make sure they're the ones securing that next dragon. But now you take a look at the gold lead. Barrage are 5k down, so it's gonna be pretty difficult if they can't find some more resources between now and then to actually contest this next dragon. As we're getting a gold hover, you can see sort of across the board, with the exception of that jungle matchup that, you know, Enclave are pretty handily ahead in a lot of these matchups. And I think King, like we sort of said before the start of the game, the only person that typically kind of keeps up in things like gold, like XP, like damage numbers. It seems like it's going to be off the back of him if they can keep their hopes alive in the next sort of fight or skirmish.
That could be pretty much anywhere on the map, you know. Baron will be coming up in 4 minutes time. Of course, you mentioned that Soul, but that fight was so close because members of Enclave went very, very low. None of them died, but at least a couple of them were probably a little bit worried about being last hit and taken out in that fight. But now they've got that gold lead, they've gone back, they've got their items. They're going to be feeling even more confident about the next fight. And yes, the Ocean Dragon was picked up by Barrage Academy, which will give them a little bit of help in those kind of longer, drawn-out, engaged situations where the regen will actually matter. But I don't think it's going to be as much as picking up 4 kills in terms of golden value. And as you said, when we were in Champ Selector coming into this game, Enclave's composition scales exceptionally well.
Yeah, and you know, Barrage's does too, but when you start talking about team comps that have relatively similar functions, right? Gold becomes all that more valuable. So if you've got one team or both teams that want a team fight effectively, as both of these team comps definitely do, but one team composition is 5,000 gold up, I know who I'm betting my money on. It is typically the rule of thumb in League of Legends. Gold, but it's definitely made a lot worse when both teams want to kind of do the same thing. And the Ocean Dragon, it's, you know, the flat value is kind of not that great, but when you're talking about it puts Barrage one away from Soul, you know, all it takes is King sort of getting in with, you know, a flash into an auto and a well-timed smite, and he picks it up, and all of a sudden Barrage have Soul. And that can sort of alleviate some of the gold lead pressure, but it's not like the same as picking up an Infernal Soul in this kind of game where those flat damage numbers and the procs of burst actually give you some of that gold value back. As King now starting to feel the pressure of the map sort of close in on him, having some of his jungle camps taken away, but he's got a little wave there to, you know,
A little bit of money.
Yeah, a little bit of money.
Which are going to be needed by every member of this Barrage Academy roster, and they do need to be careful because members of Enclave, look at this top lane matchup already. Eragon 3 levels down on Only Angel in this side lane. And yeah, it's an Ornn. Tower diving him is not the easiest thing to do, and he will be feeling relatively comfortable under there, but that Renekton's going to be super scary in these side lanes, and members of Barrage Academy know this. They're trying to pick up anything they can find, and the Sykes in the top lane looking like a pretty inviting prospect. Teleport's coming down more than be able to see. The silence comes through from Victor's ultimate, and that will be curtains. They pick up a nice shutdown, a nice kill for Enclave. They're going to try and grab as much as they can in other lanes.
Yeah, and honestly, this play happens at quite a good time. It means Barrage can potentially try and abuse some numbers advantage down this bottom side river if they really want to, but Sykes is going to respawn just a few seconds after the Ocean Dragon actually spawns itself, so it's not going to be the end of the world. If we can get a quick toggle of Enclave vision, or a Barrage vision, I beg your pardon, you can see Barrage are basically choked out entirely. They have little to no idea where Enclave actually are, so they're going to have to face check. It's really dangerous.
Oh, KDO get the re-engage down. That's a huge amount of CC coming through from KDO, but Sykes the backline has broken up the fight. But look at the damage. King on the side gets the first shutdown of the play. Looking for Cleanser. Will he be able to find the last one? Flash forward means that he will. In the rest of the fight, Sykes goes low, goes down, as KZ jumps back into the fight to pick up Only Angel. He's going to be able to slice and dice his way to freedom. But Barrage Academy take the fight they needed to find, and it's at the perfect time. Dragon has just spawned, and this should easily be Ocean Soul.
And not only is it going to be Ocean Soul, critically they picked up so many shutdowns. Look at the top of your screens. The gold lead has been halved, and not only that, now they have Soul in pocket. And Barrage, they're able to actually abuse the numbers advantage they temporarily had because of the pick that they found on Sykes in the top side. And honestly, Enclave have got to be feeling really, really bad about that one, because, you know, realistically, they had the setup there, but losing Sykes in the top side means they can't really play out the vision choke as well as they probably would have liked to. And it's just a brilliant engage from KDO, and the follow-up was there. And take a look at King on the backside. He just jumps in and immediately deletes Impulse, and then he chases down Cleanser, and all the while in the front line, Sorex and Only Angel can't do anything into the rest of the Barrage members. They slowly chunk down the front liners, and Only Angel is able to get away with his life. Renekton healing plus the Sterax and the Gore Drinker keeping him nice and healthy, but at the end of the day, the damage is already done to the game state. So much gold handed over to the carries of Barrage, and the Ocean Soul in pocket. The game feels a lot worse to play now.
Yeah, it was, as you said, King needed to be the one to put the team on his back and get them through this kind of rough patch they were in. And that team fight was perfect, jumping in, grabbing a couple of kills, allowing for the rest of your team to fight in such advantageous circumstances, especially when they almost got called out by that brush with death. It was very, very well played, and keeping up, having so much damage. Collector going to be doing a lot of work with that execute as well. It's not over for Enclave. They scale well. They've still got good tools, but they can't really afford another team fight like that, especially in 4.5 minutes time when Elder Dragon will be on the map, which makes fighting so much easier if you grab that one. And of course, remember, Purple Worm Baron, he's still hanging around.
Yeah, Purple Worm Baron, he's still here, so it's definitely going to be something that both these teams are going to be keeping their eyes on. As honestly, we've spoken about Enclave scaling. It's fine between the Azir and the Senna, but honestly, across the board, everyone on Barrage scales a lot better, realistically, than Enclave. So whilst they will be able to keep themselves in the game with some of the tools that Azir and Senna have in their kit, and of course all of the disengage available from realistically the entirety of this Enclave draft, you're still dealing with a Graves who's going to be handed an ornament pretty soon. He's farmed up pretty well. He's got a lot of kills in his pocket. And then the likes of a Victor and a Kai'Sa, it's still going to be difficult. The only thing that Enclave do kind of have going for them is some of the range from those carries that it feels like they're going to have to start using given the kind of state of the game. But the Ocean Soul's now in pocket, so you can't really abuse the range differential as hard as you'd probably like to anymore, because any poke damage that goes down, all right, well, we've got Ocean Soul. We'll just sit here for about 20 seconds and most of the damage is gone. So it's definitely a tough position.
Not impossible, though. We've seen teams come back from worse, and as you say, Barrage Academy have the opportunity to grow into this game very, very easily, but Enclave looking to make maybe the slightly more aggressive play, stolen away the red buff from right under the nose of Thomas Go and KDO. So they're going to be a little bit unfortunate, but on the top side, Sorex wasn't looking at starting up the ban with Sykes to side against it. In the end, the damage isn't there with just 2 members, and they're going to be backing away, wait for reinforcements, but they have now arrived. Looking for the engagement. KDO and King need to be careful, but both of them do have those dashes to get out of dodge, avoid the relatively short-range engage coming through from most of these members of Enclave. And there we go. KZ picks up his ornament, which is going to help him a lot in the fight that could well be coming up.
Yeah, both teams really jostling for this mid lane priority. It seems like Enclave really want to try and get this Baron in their pockets before this Elder Dragon actually spawns up. And it seems like they're going to try and fly out, but this is a very dangerous scenario to put yourselves in. Sitting in a pit in a choke versus this team composition of Barrage. Sorex is trying to look for a flanking engage, I believe, but there's enough vision to cover. Oh no, he's just staying with the team now. So yeah, Enclave gonna have to back up from that one. It's not the best idea in the world, I don't think, Will.
No, I don't think it's optimal, especially when you're giving Barrage Academy the inside track to grab this tower. Should be quick enough with that Demolish proc from Aragon, and now they can start moving around towards this bot side, looking at it a little bit more because it is dark down there. There's no vision from anyone pretty much, and with that Elder Dragon on the map in a minute and a half, now's the time to get in, get some ward vision down, back and get your items, and then get ready for a fight.
Exactly. Resets, you can see, trying to come in from Barrage. Temporarily interrupted by Enclave, and I think now's a good time to take a look at inventory, see where everyone stands, because this is likely biomes that both these teams are going to be fighting at this Elder Dragon for, or with, as Aragon's got those 2 items in pocket, picked up the Randuins after the Chem Tank, as King, we've already highlighted, has that Gale Force, has the Collector, and Thomas Go sitting pretty with his 2 items in pocket as well. Okay, so a bit of the same items as King, and then on the other side, got Night Harvester and the Zhonyas from Cleanser. Only Angel's going to be pretty tanky with Sterax, Gore Drinker, and everything else. And Impulse and Sykes both sitting at 2 items, so both these teams realistically online and ready to fight. It's more or less going to be about the setup, and I think honestly whoever has control of this river is most likely going to win the team fights. I feel like if either team has to go into one another, they are really going to struggle, and right now it seems like Barrage, they're going to yield mid lane priority for now, and Sykes even puts down the Sun Disc to try and secure it, but Barrage still have position. They catch most of this wave. Might end up dropping the tower though.
Yeah, a lot of damage coming down from Enclave onto this mid lane tower. Barrage need to decide when they want to pull the trigger, if at all. Have decided against for now and are going to be moving off because Dragon is spawning up in 5 seconds time. This is likely going to be the battleground for what might not be the last fight of the game, as a lot of objectives still standing, but will definitely be a crucial one in how the game will look moving forward. Barrage are sitting in the river. Thomas Go takes a bit of a beating, but remember, he's got that Dragon Soul going down. Onagel looking for the flank. The ultimate Storage getting engaged on the back line as well, coming through. Damage is down, but look at Onagel on the side. He's going to be chased away, moving back into the middle of the fight. Thomas Go gets the first kill of it. Cleanser has to go golden, but it's super low. Will be stunned up, will be taken out as KDO has been dismounted, but it doesn't matter. He's still got the damage needed as Barrage Academy are going to be able to chase off their opponents, taking down 4 members and not losing a single one themselves. They'll be able to get this Elder Dragon, and they might even look towards the Baron as well.
Yeah, they should be able to pick up both of these buffs right here. And I mean, honestly, I'm not entirely sure what Only Angel's doing. I mean, I understand the idea of it, right? King was such a menace in the previous fight, but splitting yourself off, the rest of Enclave are still stuck in this choke. So we'll move away from Enclave and you can see, or from Only Angel, and you can see the rest of the team has to funnel into this choke. And it just means that Thomas Go, KDO, and Aragon can effectively just focus on the remainder of Enclave, whilst, you know, the 2 other carries, King and KZ, can just burn down the Crocodile. He's not actually strong enough to pick up those 2 carries, as, I mean, Impulse tries for a miracle still, but good luck stealing the Baron away with that center W. And I mean, Barrage, both buffs in pocket, just gonna look to reset now. And for the first time in what feels like the entire game, they have what feels like full control of the map with both of those in pocket. And I mean, should be looking to, at the very least, take down all of the outer towers that still remain. Best case, trying to crack open that base, but the buffs do take a little while. Enclave, I mean, Barrage actually making a bit of a cardinal sin here in opening on all 3 lanes. It makes it so easy to be picked off in a situation like this.
KZ in a lot of trouble. Tanky members there. Teleport coming through on the backside. Will it be enough to dissuade Only Angel and Sorax? It won't be enough to dissuade the Crocodile, who's going to look for damage, but Aragon calls the horn, looking for the knockup. Won't be able to find it as Sorax will bash him out of its path. Members coming through. Sykes is there now as well. Planes are running down. Barrage need to be careful though. Enclave committing so many members as people. Barrage are just running it down mid. Will be able to pick up the shutdown in the end though, but it's not going to matter too much if members are going to be lost in the mid lane. The tower's gone down. The inhibitor you've got to imagine surely will, as well as Aragon will stumble. Won't be able to get a stop onto the Azim though, as 2 members do manage to get back. So Enclave, you do get the kill, you lose out on your inhibitor, but Only Angel on the collapse, looking for KDO, but a pretty tanky customer. Rel doesn't go down so easily, looking for the CC, but CC will be all that is returned onto Rel. Enough damage comes through and Only Angel picks up another kill. So question mark pings initially on that play, but they do manage to pick up a little bit on the backside.
I mean, but realistically, the damage is done, right? They lose the mid lane inhibitor, and it just means that Barrage are going to be able to sort of pick a side once all of their members respawn, and we're just getting a replay of KDO going down. Nothing really to talk about. And Barrage, I mean, opening out onto all 3 lanes of the map, right? Coming off the reset and going into all 3 lanes, it's just not the best thing to do for reasons like this. It just gives the opponent more or less pretty big openings. Now, in this case, obviously, Enclave, they lose out in the mid lane inhibitor because they commit to the play for so long. But in other worlds where KZ, you know, face checks a little more stupidly, KZ just dies and that's kind of the play, and all of a sudden Enclave have the numbers back at base to not actually lose that inhibitor. So Barrage, honestly, in some ways fortunate to actually pick up the full mid lane with that play going down, but it's more or less just an error from Enclave taking so long, committing so many members down to try and pick him up. Because now Barrage doing closer to correct thing in actually playing through 2 lanes as opposed to all 3. Off the back of a reset, and this should just be the tower going down. Should
be pretty easily taken. Remember, they have just lost that Baron buff though, so clearing becomes much easier for Enclave, who will be able to chase away members of Barrage Academy, who could look for a reset, could look to decide where they want to make the play next. Of course, the Elder Dragon buff not going to be hanging around either. So, but Jamada, more importantly than the state of the game we're in, I see you very tactically have avoided saying any of the ornament names. Is this because you do not know them?
Now,
not done your homework?
That's very cute, Will. So, all right, I'm just gonna put you to bed right now.
Okay, talk me through.
You've got turbocharged Hex something supercharger or something silly like that. That's on the.
It's close enough. We'll allow that.
You've got Typhoon.
Okay.
And then
That's a double.
And then you've got Leandri's Lament. So I don't know who you thought you was coming at.
I was just, the fact you got Orns wrong, but like that's fine. We'll
okay. It's like Hex Tech Supercharger or something silly like that. Barrage. They're looking for.
They're looking for a fight. They're looking to save your skin on that one, but won't be able to do it as Enclave are happy to just back away. It's turbocharged Hex Experiment.
All right, yeah. I forgot. That's the one that they couldn't think of other names.
Yeah, they were like, we'll just use the same words over and over again. It's fine. But
Yeah, all right.
Typhoon, you got off a little bit because Typhoon was 2 players, right?
Yeah.
I feel like if there were 5, you would have been a little bit.
I mean, to be fair, if KZ had Kraken Slayer, I still know what that one's called. So.
Well, I know that you and Hitman had a conversation about that last week. So that's why you know that one.
Oh no! It's because it's such a weird name. It's like Wormfallen Sacrifice or something. Like
Yeah.
That. It's like, why is that an item name?
So metal. so metal. As Enclave moving into this mid lane, have set themselves up as Sundisk once again. And we've seen this play before. We saw this play exactly before the last team fight as Barrage Academy on the side, looking for a flank, looking to just deny any minions and successfully proxying the wave there. Only a couple will be able to make it through to the tower, which is not enough to take anything down. But Barrage Academy needs to be careful. Predator was procced by Cleanser. But again, if nothing's done with that, it's another resource that has been burnt by Enclave before the fight even kicks off. And look at the rail on the side, definitely looking for something. Does return to the team as Victor on the back gets into Dragon Pit as we're seeing 2 pitched battle lines. What can Enclave do here? They're gonna have to press forward. And Rel gets the nice engagement. He's on the back, does the flying. The damage through his king is looking to shoot, looking to kill. Thomas Go on the back also has so much to do. KZ gets the double on the side. Thomas Go looking to escape, doesn't want to go down, doesn't want to be the only member of his team not left standing as the ace comes through. All 5 members of Barrage Academy still standing strong, and they don't care about the Elder Dragon. They're looking to end the game.
And honestly, just hats off to KDO for finding that engage. We just kind of knew from as soon as he went behind into that blue buff pit that we was going to see something kind of magical, and magical it was. We're going to see Barrage just close out the game here. Game 1 of the day. Going to be going over to Barrage. Oh, the inhibs respawning.
Can they do it?
Okay.
They will be able to do so. So, victory for Barrage Academy, not denied by that inhibitor, and that was such an interesting game to watch. Enclave looked so good in the earlier stages and moving into mid-game, but Barrage never counted themselves out. And as soon as it got to a point where we were looking and seeing, right, this is where we're going to start seeing big team fights, this is where the big plays are going to come through, it all looked Barrage Academy from there, and Enclave just couldn't catch up.
Yeah, I mean, we had that one fight at the Third Dragon where it actually looked Enclave favored. Front line of Barrage wasn't really able to keep up with what Enclave were throwing at them, but crucially, it was Barrage that picked up that dragon. And that meant that come the 4th dragon, it was the Soul Point. They picked up that fight, the dragon, and then also, I believe, the Baron off the back of that relatively handily. And from there, it just kind of felt Barrage favored, albeit Barrage definitely sinned a little bit with some of their Baron buffs, but it didn't really matter nonetheless. And they close out on Enclave, who, you know, a few more signs of life this game, sure, but definitely, you know, I still worry for this team. Inactivity still seems to plague them a little, even when they have some of these proactivity tools.
Well, maybe not any solutions to the problems we had with these 2 teams initially when we came in today, but Barrage Academy do go away with the win, and they'll be absolutely thrilled with that. We're going to jump to a short break, but when we come back, we're going to be looking not only at a couple of the plays that came through on that game, but also with a lovely interview. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.
If you wanna find love, then you gotta have faith. The world is on your side. The world is on your side. If you wanna find love, then you got to have faith. The world will be your guide. The world will be your guide. No, I don't care. No one can tear you down. We'll lift you up. It's about here and now. You're gonna find love. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. Love like Bonnie and Clyde. Love like right till we die. Down like thieves in the night. Love like Bonnie and Clyde. Love like right till we die. Down like thieves in the night. If you wanna find love, then you gotta have faith. The world is on your side. The world is on your side. If you wanna find love, then you got to have faith. The world will be your guide. The world will be your guide. No, I don't care. No one can tear you down. We'll lift you up. It's about here and now. Yeah, you're gonna find love. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. Love like Bonnie and Clyde. Love like right till we die. Down like thieves in the night. Love like Bonnie and Clyde. Love like right till we die. Down like thieves in the night. Love like Bonnie and Clyde. Love like right till we die. Down like thieves in the night. Love like Bonnie and Clyde. Love like right till we die. Down like thieves in the night.
Hello and welcome back to the UKLC. I'm still Viper and still joined by Jamada, and we are going to be taking a look through the last game that we just watched with Barrage Academy getting themselves a victory over Enclave. And Jamada, now we've had a little bit of time to digest the game. How impressed were you with the performance there from Barrage Academy?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was really nice, and you know, I wouldn't go as far as saying it was necessarily too commanding, but I think, you know, they sort of held their wits about them, particularly after that third dragon fight. They were still 5k down, but they knew they still had that win condition, that potential chance of making that fight work at that soul point if they could actually pick up some gold somewhere. And they made that pick just before the dragon. They forced a numbers advantage fight, and they, you know, off the back of that, they secured the soul, and from there it was relatively smooth sailing.
Yeah, absolutely was. And I've heard a lot about your drawing skills. I've been prepped and ready for them. So, oh no, I'm being told that we're not allowed to draw. So I'm gonna have to wait.
Oh,
for
there's
that
no
one.
drawing board.
They're teasing me with the
They're
drawing board,
teasing
but
you.
we're not gonna be doing that one this time around. But
Yeah.
Jamada, what could Barrage Academy have done better there? Because we talked about how they were quite impressive. They won the game. It wasn't necessarily the cleanest thing in the world. I know you talked about the Baron play maybe not being the cleanest it's ever been in the world. Are there any other lessons that Barrage Academy could take away from that game?
I think, specifically with the Baron, opening out onto 3 lanes, bit of a sin. If you didn't know, now you know. It more or less, it opens up for things like what we saw in KZ, obviously nearly getting caught out. It can cause bigger issues. Obviously, KZ sort of paid his due diligence a little bit, and it was also Enclave playing that sort of situation a little bit not great. So, they were able to sort of get away with it for free and actually got more from it than they lost because Enclave committed so many members. It meant that they could push up the mid lane. But, I mean, all in all, I think, I'd have to sit down and watch the game back. Realistically, though, I think they did a good enough job here, and that's kind of the important thing.
Well, you only need to be better than the team you're playing against in any given game, and that was definitely the case. We can see that play that we were talking about, that dragon fight, which was kind of... It was pretty crucial in the way that the game was played, so hopefully we'll be able to see this one. But Jamada, this was one of the most impressive fights that we saw in the game, and definitely showed how close things can be and then how much they can turn.
Yeah, because, Barrage get handily sort of swatted away in this fight, but the important things to take away were obviously they pick up this dragon and it keeps the hopes there. That's the important thing. The hope is still there for them to secure the soul. Cleanser isn't able to win away the smite, and it's just a battle of the frontline CC. As it's just a bounce house on both sides, really. But it's Barrage that sort of end up running away with the tail in between their legs. None of the members from Enclave actually end up dropping, and off the back of this, you're like, okay, Enclave have a 5,000 gold lead. Surely come the next dragon, they should just be able to secure vision around it, secure the sort of positional advantage in general, and not lose out on the fight. But Sykes gets caught out on the top side, and it turns into a 4v5, which realistically, with even a 4k gold lead, 4v5s are still 4v5s. Barrage hand them their defeat at that fight. They get the soul, they get the Baron, and they turn that into eventually a snowball of Elder and then another Baron into game end.
Well, that's the thing. That play was basically the lowest point in terms of gold for Barrage Academy, but they looked really, really impressive and managed to, even at that point, look really, really good. And I know that you've given us a little bit of a coaching through that, but we're going to be dragging into our interview now with Barrage Academy's coach Vigling. So, Vigling, how are you feeling about that decisive win?
Not sure I would call it decisive. I'm just happy that we were able to get the win. Obviously, we were tied with Enclave, so it feels pretty good to at least get the win there.
Absolutely, and definitely putting a little bit of ground between yourselves and Enclave and yourselves and those lower reach of the table is always going to be good. But before we talk about the game too much, can you talk us a little bit through the thought process behind the draft?
Sure. So we knew that only Angel, he was probably going to go for some kind of bruiser. So we were just looking to get a top laner that could be a main engage and one that couldn't really be punished if they went something like Renekton and Talia. When we saw the Gragas, we were actually fairly confident right from the get-go that it would be Gragas jungle. So we tried to just draft around that.
Oh, that's...
And then...
Oh, sorry. Go.
No problem. Yeah, so we knew that it was going to be Gragas in the jungle, or I had a really good feeling that it would be. And then we knew that they were probably going to go for a control mage in mid lane, so we picked up the Victor yet again. So we tried to just get a composition that would have better scaling, but also tools to be proactive. Then I'm not sure we used them quite optimally, but you could see later in the fights that our engage was really hard for specifically the Senna, but also the Asir, I would argue, to actually deal with. So overall, I think I was happier with this draft than some of the other ones that I've been drafting. But I think we could have executed it probably a bit better. Definitely a bit better.
And just to round that, I want to ask you quickly before we have to say our goodbyes. How do you feel like your chances are at making playoffs? Because we're basically going to be done with round one of the double round robin. You're going to be sitting 3 and 4. So moving towards that sort of top 4, how do you feel your chances are? Good, bad? Not really looking at it until you get to the back end of the season.
Yeah, I think honestly, a lot of the games that we've been playing has just been down to us. Like, I think we have made a lot of mistakes, which the other teams have capitalized on. So I think the more experience that my players get on the stage, the less mistakes there will be, and hopefully we can play our game plan a bit better. And honestly, I think that apart from Resolve, all the teams are pretty equal in skill. So it's a lot about drafting and just who wins these early scrimmages. But I'm pretty confident that we can take 3-0 this week and then hopefully 3-0 next week as well.
Big fighting words, but well, congratulations on the win. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to jump to a very short break. When we come back, we're going to be going into our second match of the evening as London Esports look to take on Bulldog. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a few minutes.